about very specifically the challenge and what's going to happen with the challenge. And it's 10 years. This is our big 10-year anniversary of the challenge. It's a bit hard to believe that it has been 10 years since I started the challenge way back. And I want to do things extremely differently. And I want to get you all involved in the challenge as well. So what I want to do is I want to take the opportunity to be able to get your feedback, and we're going to do this through the live stream, and we're going to, over the next set of events, we're going to do a whole bunch of interesting things, including I've been sort of secretly testing a 2-day program for building a person's business, and sort of compressing the challenge from 30 days, would you believe, into 2 days. So that's something that we're having a look at. But there are other elements of this as well that we want to be able to do, and I want to bring those to you in a second. So what I'm going to do here, just to, again, and for those of you who are logged on, at least you're getting to see the parts of this, I'm just going to, I might have to shut the stream off just briefly like I did last time, because I want to record this next section and record the next bit for everybody, so to make sure we've captured it. Okay, so what I just did then was I set up the software I'm using here is called Wirecast. It's about $500, which I suppose in the old days wasn't anything that particularly different, but nowadays that seems incredibly expensive. But for what I want to do here, it's very cool. And indeed, what I'm doing now is, in a second, I'm about to hit record, and not only will it do streaming out to all of you, but it will also feed that back and save a version of this to hard disks, so I can create a podcast version of the whole program, and I don't have to, so it saves about 3 different steps. And what you'll be able to see as we develop on the format, when we do Skype interviews, we'll be able to have both people on screen, we'll be able to do overlays, we'll be able to do all sorts of cool things like that as well, as we get used to the whole format. So, now, I have notes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit record, and so we can actually use this part as the recorded version. So we'll have a little bit more structure, and I won't try to do anything fancy pants for this one, so we keep the stream nice and comfortable. All right, so bear with me for 1 second. I'm going to go silent for a sec, and then we're going to hit record. Okay, what everybody wants to hear about is what we're going to do with the challenge this year. And I want all of you to become involved with the building of the challenge this year. Everything is on the table as far as I'm concerned this year. Everything is absolutely on the table. It's our 10th year, so I want it to be big, and I want it to be, most importantly, useful and actionable. And I've got some ideas about that. When I looked at the way the challenge has worked over the last 10 years, there are 2, to me, fundamental learnings. The first one is a process-driven learning. In fact, I might, let's see if we can bring this up. I'll tempt fate. Let's see if this works. So, yep, you still hear it? So far, so okay. Live. Watch it. See, I'm still learning all of this stuff. But the original challenge, when you look at how the original challenge worked, it was very much we did market. Okay, so we did market, and then we looked at traffic. Then we looked at conversion. And then we were looking at product. That was the humbly titled Magnificent Symphony of 4 parts. That's how it worked, right? Unfortunately, I can say with some certainty now that approach is not the right approach for what we're doing now. And I'll explain the new approach, and then I'll explain why the new approach has to happen. We start with a market, but it's more important than ever for you to be interested and, dare I say, passionate about that market. The next thing we need to do is we need to move to prototype. So we have to very quickly look at building a prototype of what we're doing. Then we have to test and do experiments. So it's test and then finally scale. So why is this such a dramatic change in what we're talking about? Well, it comes down to this. Back in 2005, when we first started doing the challenge, traffic was cheap, super cheap, and easy, right? The product was hard, right, and expensive and time-consuming. It took forever. Now, the facts are, it's completely the other way around. Creating the products, and this may seem strange for a lot of you listening, creating the product is actually the easy part now, and traffic is the expensive, inverted commas, part. And it's the part that is the harder thing to generate. It requires more thinking, and it requires more money. Typically, organic traffic is virtually dead from a perspective of starting something. It's usually a benefit at the end of a process. And so fundamentally, over the last 2 years, things have changed into market, prototype, test, and scale. And it's because of the ease in which we can create a product. Anybody with a smartphone is 20 minutes away from a product. You can literally talk into a video. Doing what I'm doing right now in 2005 would have been inconceivable. Live streaming and then, recording for a podcast, doing iPad didn't exist, iPhone didn't exist, drawing visuals, all of those sorts of things were absolutely, beyond comprehension. The cost of streaming was immense. But now you can create a podcast, we can do interviews, we can do all sorts of things. So the product side of things is, it makes way more sense to do prototypes first after a very different understanding of your market. The market research phase has very, very, very much changed as well. And that's something we'll address in these live streams as we're going forward as well. But to me, Challenge 10 had to fundamentally reflect this new methodology. And so that's what it's going to do. And I think it's very exciting. I've been testing, doing little secret 2-day seminars here in Australia, just testing these theories with people, and the results have been really, really positive. So that's part one. But remember, I said there are two things. And the second thing's on this piece of paper here. As much as we can give people a plan of attack, a step-by-step guide, the facts are only a small percentage of people ultimately build a business. Now, let's digress just slightly for 1 second. When I say that the type of business that I'm interested in helping business, to me there are 3 types of businesses. 2 of them are worth exploring, okay? The first business is what I like to call a niche style business. This is my favourite. This is a business that you build up over the course of a year or 2, and it's designed to give you a life. So it's designed to make sure all the bills are paid. It's designed so that you can work wherever you want in the world. It's not the 4-hour work week. I don't think that's really realistic in this day and age. But you should still be able to work where you want. You should be able to go away for 3 or 4 weeks at a time and not have everything fall apart. And you should earn a comfortable amount of money, so you've got the freedom to do the other things that you love, whether it's with your kids or grandkids, or whether it's holidays, or whether it's a hobby, doing art, or improving yourself, or racing cars or horses. I don't know what it is, but you should be free to do that. You should be designing a life, and to me that's what a niche style business is. It's a 6-figure a year business, so you're earning $100,000 or more, and that is going to pay for you to have the lifestyle that you want. This is not, and we'll talk about this in a second, this is not what we call, well, not what I call, but what Peter Diamandis explained in his book, an exponential type of business. That's the second type of business worth doing. An exponential business is a business that has the ability to be I think the fashionable term now is unicorn, right? It's a thing that has exponential growth possibilities. But typically, to get an exponential business growing, in fact, let's go to my iPad here again, and let me just draw something here. So if you have a look at your exponential style business, a niche style business is a business, and if you look at this at time and dollars, a niche style business hopefully should keep you in the black, and over time, it gets over the 100K. But you're always right. You're always in the black. That's to me, what a niche style business is. So if you look at that chart, that's what I think a niche style chart looks like. The next one is when you look at an exponential business, right? So if you've got vertical, if you can imagine, the vertical axis is dollars and the horizontal axis is time. Now, an exponential style business goes into the negative, right? And out, or you hit that, off it goes into the stratosphere. Now, an exponential, these are great businesses as well. There's nothing wrong with an exponential business. It's fantastic. But you have to understand what an exponential business means. It means you are dedicating your life fully to this business. This is not a hobbyist business, right? Look at any exponential business, a business that makes $1 million a year, 10 million a year. It's not a hobby. It is a business that requires a big team. It requires you to spend a lot of money. It requires you to, back an idea to the hilt. You look at every successful exponential business. I don't care whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Tesla, Apple, any of those major hits, or even just big information
companies, they have to literally go into that negative section, and you are literally dedicating your life to this thing. For 2 to 5 years, you eat, breathe, and sleep this idea. It's just what it requires for it to work. Now, like I said, that's not a problem. I have no problem with that. But and you can tell me,
a tweet to @ed_Dale and let me know if you think this is, are you more interested in exponential style business where you are literally every waking hour is you focused on that business because that's what it requires, or you're interested in more the niche style business? I suspect most of you listening or watching this are interested in the niche style of business. A business that can earn you a couple of $100,000, maybe a little bit more, maybe 400 or 500, who knows? But what it's doing but rather than it being exponential, it's a business that you can spend time in, but you can have a life. Okay, you can do other things as well. It's not all about the business isn't all consuming. There is a third type of business. Remember I said there were 3, and that's one I'm not very interested in at all, which is the one that sort of is in between the two. You sort of get stuck in the middle. And if you look at a lot of traditional business owners, this is where they are. They're spending a hell of a lot of time in their business, but it's not generating the type of money that allows them any freedom. If they're not there working, the business dies, it stops, the doors don't open. And none of us, I don't think, unless you're some sort of masochist, want that type of business. So for me, and again, I want your feedback on this, @ed_Dale, or go to the fan page or the blog and leave a comment. I want to know from you. I personally think you want to hear about niche styling. So you want to create a business that will support that lifestyle that you're after. And we're not talking private jets and Boeing 747s done up Google style, right? We're talking about being able to travel, being able to work from wherever you want, be able to comfortably pay the bills, do all those sorts of things. That's what we're looking at here. So, having said all of that, let's go back to my original point. The thing that makes all of this possible is you can have the strategy, you can have the tactics, you can have it spelled out step by step. Yet why do certain people do this really well and others do not? Right? And the facts are the vast majority of people who've done the challenge have not achieved that niche style business. And that distresses me. Now, because of the sheer weight of numbers, tens of thousands of people have, which is awesome. But I'd like it to be better. I want it to be better. And so I've been really deeply thinking about this for the last couple of years. And it's not the steps of the business that I think are the most important concept. It's how you go about starting the business, which is so much more important. And this is what I want to bring to the challenge this year. And I think, blowing my own trumpet a little bit, but I think I'm in a unique position because I've seen so many hundreds of thousands of people attempt to start a business. And there's a few things that I've learned and I want to draw out. The first one, as you can imagine, is do you guys remember, you might remember the, it was, hang on, let me bring this up here.
You might remember good old, this is the only piece of psychology most people have ever done. You might remember Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It was this like triangle, and there were 5, and I think later they went to 7 different steps, right? And that was interesting. And down here is food and shelter. Now, as you can imagine, over the years, a lot of people who have been in a real bad way have wanted to do the challenge, hoping that this was the Hail Mary thing, the thing that would, solve all their problems, pay back all their debts, and, get them out of the, the situation that they were in. That's what
people hoped. And unfortunately, if you look at that Maslow's pyramid, if you haven't got your shelter situation, if you don't know how you're going to pay rent, if you don't know how you're going to pay the school fees or the food, all those, the vital things that you have to pay, you're in no position to create a business. You can't, because you don't have that base of the pyramid all set, ready to go. This is a really big issue, and this is something that I think we need to address in the challenge, and something that I'm very keen to, because I think there are concepts, things like paid to train, which I've talked about previously and we'll definitely talk about on live streams, because I know very successful challengers who have done just that. There are ways to get around it, but to me, getting that base of that hierarchical pyramid right, that Maslow's pyramid, see, school psychology was good for something, that to me is crucial. And so that's one thing. The other thing is, what type of person are you? Now, this is not all sort of woo-woo stuff. This is what's your deep fundamental reason for being. Although it's really cool if you do know that. I'm still trying to work it out a little bit, but actually, I just recently, I don't know if you've ever heard of Kolbe, Kolbe. I've always avoided any sort of profile tests for all of my 45 years because I was always terrified that it would reveal that I truly am a psychopath. I wanted to avoid that realization. Anyway, I finally succumbed after a good friend, somebody will be interviewing in an upcoming live stream, to take this Kolbe profile. It's also highly recommended by a bunch of people that I respect, so okay, what the heck. So I did that, paid my $49 or whatever it was. And the results were crazy. In terms of there's these categories, if you will. And the thing I like about it's quite simple to understand, but it's very, very revealing. Anyway, for me, it showed that I was a 9 in terms of quick start ideas and innovation, and I was a 1 in follow through. And anybody who has had the misfortune of working with me knows how accurate that is. But here's the thing that hit me right between the eyes. All of you watching this will be different, and there's no right or wrong, there's no good or bad, but you are what you are. And as this wise friend that we'll be interviewing next week on the live stream mentioned to me and said, so many people get stuck working on their weaknesses and they don't build their strengths. And if you understand what your strengths are, there's never been a better time in human history for you to start a business, because guess what? Your people who are really good at the things that you're weak at are a Fiverr.com website away. They are a freelancer.com website away. They are a team partnership away. So that you've got people with complementary skills, and understanding and knowing what you're good at and what you're not good at, but understanding that there's no wrong. It's not like you're bad. It's just how you are. They call it connotative. It's beyond the scope of a discussion today, but we will be talking about it more as we go through this live stream. But I found it fascinating and quite revealing. And the thought to me, what if everybody doing understood where they were at in terms of their profile, so that they could understand the way that they need to. Everybody can start a business. There's no profile that there's no personality. It's not personality either, right? This is literally, people do personality tests and IQ tests and all that. That's not what I'm talking about here. This is really about your work style, right? And people have been fighting against their work style forever, and it causes them stress. It's for me, I believe, my hypothesis is the fundamental reason people fail to implement their online business, because the steps are out there. We've been telling you the steps for 10 years. We know it works. There's been plenty of people who've got it right. But to me, I think it's this fundamental understanding of how you work. And this is not something, your strengths are your strengths. That's what they are. And they don't change, right? And rather than, banging your head against a wall trying to make up for your weaknesses, you should revel in your strengths and get team members to help you. Because remember, doing an online business in 2015 is definitely a team sport. It's not an individual sport, it's a team sport. And this Colby Index and understanding how you work, to me, is fundamental. And that, to me, is something that I'm very, very keen to explore. Time, willpower, and energy. These are also fundamentals, I think, now, in terms of we have to acknowledge that they're linked, and we have to acknowledge, we've always said in the challenge that, you have to chunk things up. One of the reasons we do it over 30 days is to try keep it, to 30 minutes. I know some days we really blew that out of the water, but the idea was to chunk it up because we know that and this is what's really changed over the last 2 years. There's been a whole bunch of science. It's this whole concept that I'm about to talk about, which is the concept of willpower and correspondingly the energy you have to put into any endeavour, let alone an online business. Because here's the thing, for Joe and Jane Smith, they just work 9 to 5, come home and watch Housewives of Atlanta. That's just how it is. Sounds nice in a way, right? But you are all driven by something different. You want a plan B, right? You do want to create that niche style business. You want to create, and be part of that. And that means that you have to expend energy on top of that. You have to apply willpower on top of that. And what we now know after research, which has exploded in the last 2 years, this is scientific backed research, that your willpower operates, your energy levels are a bit like a fuel tank, and it's topped up by sleep, it's topped up by meditation. Boy, I've started meditating this last 6 months, and in combination with dietary changes, boy oh boy, has it been a major difference. But the thing I want to talk about with you guys about this is this understanding and this recognition. I think we have to let people know, going into the challenge, that it's not only blocking out the time, and there are techniques to block out time. We all understand that intellectually, but we also have to acknowledge our energy levels. And what we know now for absolute certain is every single decision you have to make in a day. And that's not just work decisions. That's not creative decisions about your new business or doing the next challenge step. This is, what am I going to wear today? Should I take this route or that route? Each time you are making a decision, your willpower fuel tank is depleting. Pure science now, right? This to me is really interesting, and it is, I think, super crucial to our understanding. Because when do most people try to do their online business, right? They do it on the weekends, or they do it on at night, and all of a sudden their willpower is completely, because they've had a day. Most of you are in jobs that require you to think, and every decision you make on the job depletes that willpower, and so you're running on fumes by the time you get home to do your business. And we know the science is that your body makes real bad decisions when it's down on willpower. So understanding this and understanding the techniques to recharge willpower, I think, are fundamental to getting a business right as well. So this is this whole, before you actually start the business layer, that I think people need to get to. And this is not something you switch on and off, but it's a journey for sure. And you can certainly build your business. But I think if you understand these things before you get cracking, I just think it will make the journey of creating an online business that much more pleasant. That's my theory. That is my hypothesis. Okay, and that's what I want to prove in this year's challenge. And fortunately, there's a bunch of stuff that we can do with that. So we'll call it a day there. It's a short one today, just so that we let people know. And as I say, we've got a lot of cobwebs to blow out. We've got a lot of techniques to figure out and play with all of this new technology that we've got available here. But it's going to be exciting, and the commitment is to show up live at this time so we'll be at 8 p.m. Eastern, which is 10 a.m. in Australia, and in Europe, but you're also going to be able to get the video stream of this, so you'll be able to watch it whenever it tickles your fancy. We're going to put that on YouTube, so you can watch it on an Apple TV or a Rovio or your Amazon box or wherever it happens to float your boat. And we're also going to do an audio podcast version, so it will go into the podcast feeds. So for those brave souls who braved this broadcast, I hope it's been particularly useful for you. I hope that at ed_Dale, geez, I regret putting that underscore in, but anyway, so at ed_Dale, and hopefully next week I'll have fancy little titles and all that sort of stuff to add to this live stream, maybe a scoreboard as well. So we'll do that. It'll be an interview format next week. Got a very special guest, and we're going to delve more into this, these fundamental things about understanding yourself, so that you can launch your business the right way. Again, any ideas, any suggestions, I'd love to hear them. Shoot them through on Twitter at ed_Dale. Thank you very, very much. Much more to come on this, and we will speak again soon. Have a great week, and we'll speak next week. Ciao for now.